Hey, Future Lawyer. Welcome to the LSAT Simplified podcast presented by Hey Future Lawyer, where we talk about all things LSAT, law school admissions, and otherwise. If you want to check out our free LSAT course, go to HeyFutureLawyer.com to sign up for a free account today. Hey, everyone. Welcome to the podcast. Today, we have a decent amount of stuff, and I'm moving my camera real quick. I'm actually at my parents' house right now in Boulder, Colorado. Super exciting. Basically, I am getting married on Saturday, which is exciting. Honestly, stressful right now. Once the day comes, it'll be exciting. So that is July 19th, 5 days out. Shout out to that. Super exciting. Anyway, I am banking up a bunch of podcast episodes because I'm going to be gone for a few weeks. Obviously, with the marriage, that is busy, as you can imagine. And then further, we have travel after. We're only going for a week on vacation just because I am busy. And it's not the only travel that we intend to do. So it'll be a fun time. Anyway, so podcast world of LSAT, what are we going through? Well, first off, we're going to touch on 4 kind of LSAT truths that I'd say we built Hey Future Lawyer about. And then we will also be touching on various questions, mostly from emails that I've had sent in and then off of Reddit. This will likely be a shorter episode just due to the fact that I have so much wedding stuff I have to get through. I have to write my vows down, which I have written. And then I also have to do I don't even want to look at the list. There's so much stuff to do. And it's all exciting stuff. Like, it's a privilege to be able to go through these hoops. But they are hoops that have to be jumped through. And as such, I am probably going to keep this more in the 30 to 40 minutes as opposed to the typical hour that we tend to go through. Further, we have some really cool podcast stuff coming up once I'm back from, not vacation, but it is vacation, I guess, in a way, the honeymoon. So that'll be in late July when I'm back. We will have episodes each week. It's just I'm going to pre-film them. So you'll be seeing my beautiful parents upstairs, which has a ping pong table in the back. I mean, honestly, if you're on video, you can even see. Hold on, let me pull the video to see if you can see this. Yeah, if I move my head there, you can see that white spot. That's my brother. He threw an Xbox controller into the wall when he was a kid. I think he lost a game, which is, I don't know, kind of funny. Teenage boys are so stupid, aren't we? Anyway, let's get right into it. So first off, LSAT truths. Like, what are things that are important in the world of LSAT that people just do not take seriously? Well, we have 4 things that we kind of view as our, fundamental, like, core philosophy. The first of which is that the LSAT is important. This test is not a checkbox that you are trying to get done with. The LSAT will control the types of law schools you go to. The LSAT will control the price you pay for law school. And those things are not inconsequential. Those things are incredibly important. If you go to a bad law school, it will change the types of jobs available to you. Technically, all ABA law schools will accredit you to sit the bar in all US states. That is true. So for people who say it doesn't matter what law school you go to, there is a caveat to that, which is, do you want to get hired? Because while practicing law does not discriminate in terms of what law school you go to, you can go to any ABA law school and practice law anywhere. That doesn't mean that people will hire you. So if you just want to practice as a solo practitioner, if you want to do wills for old people, if you want to be a public defender, then yeah, it literally does not matter where you go. If you care about getting a high salary, if you want to clerk on the Supreme Court, if you want to clerk on a federal court, if you want to clerk on a state court, I guess state courts are easier. It does matter where you go. So the idea that the LSAT is just something to get through so that you can go to any law school, it really depends on your career goals. And from talking to most of you have career goals to where it does matter where you go to law school. So I'm not here to tell you what you should or should not want out of your legal career. What I am here to tell you is that the law school you go to does affect who will hire you, which, if you want to be hired by certain places, matters. The good news is that all of this is public data. You can find every law school's employment reports by searching ABA, insert the law school employment report. And what you will find is that some schools have very good employment. They will send basically all their graduates to big firms, which big firms are those that pay really well, federal clerkships, etc. And then there are law schools where basically no one goes to those positions. And in most law schools, it's like somewhere between 10 to 30% of the class. So realistically speaking, I don't know what you want. But what I do know is that if you want the high paying salaries, that is not independent of the schools you go to. It is very heavily correlated. And those schools are very heavily correlated with your LSAT. I can guarantee you that LSAT scores correlate with career earnings over law school. Not because the LSAT is causal. The LSAT does not cause you to get a higher salary, but the LSAT does cause you to get into certain schools. And those schools determine whether or not you get a high salary or low salary. So the LSAT is very important. If you get a 155, can you get into law school? Like, absolutely, yes, you can. Can you get into law schools where high salaries are guaranteed or even expected? The answer is no, because those schools don't take 155s. Now, can you go to a quote unquote crappy law school, crush it, get a 4.0 and get hired at a big firm? That can technically happen. I do think that is harder than just getting a high LSAT score. Law school is higher pressure, and it is something you haven't done before. The LSAT has unlimited practice. There are as many practice tasks as, well, there's 58 practice tasks, but assuming you're doing them properly, that is more than enough. To run out of material on the LSAT only indicates that you're rushing way too fast and not learning from the material you're doing. So there's basically all the prep you want. Take the test once you like your scores, so you get that prep. That is not how law school exams work. Law school exams are on a schedule. You take your test the day of the test. You don't get to reschedule it should you not be ready. You don't get to reschedule it should you have a breakup. You come in and you take the test. Further, are there practice tests like LSAC releases? I don't know because I haven't been to law school, but I do know that it's not as straightforward as there's 58 practice common law exams that you can work off of, whereas there are 58 LSATs. So you control your score on the LSAT way more than you control your score in law school, which is why I always advocate, if you all are going for the money, I cannot advocate enough, go to schools where it's a guarantee. Go to Harvard, go to Cornell, go to NYU, go to Duke. Not because I'm an elitist, but because if you are going for the money, these are the schools where it is a guarantee. And to be fair, it's not a guarantee. There's actually a really funny story going around right now. In fact, not to tangent entirely, but let's tangent because this is really funny. So let me Google this up real quick. Above the Law, Sidley Biter. So this is from abovethelaw.com. If you want to find it, the title of the article is Summer Associate's Naughty Toddler Impression Gets Her Bounce from Big Law, with the subtitle, She Really Sunk Her Teeth into Big Law. Vampire or Big Law Summer Associate, you be the judge. This is a story you're really going to chew on for a while. A Sidley, which, quick intermission, for those of you that don't know, Sidley Austin is a really large law firm. They pay very well. This is one of the very prestigious jobs that many people try to get. So a Sidley Summer Associate in the New York office, who we will refer to as Big Law Biter for reasons that will soon be apparent, was let go after a series of incidents with other employees. What happened, you ask? She bit other people at work. You are not reading this incorrectly. A Big Law Summer Associate bit people at the firm with her teeth, which I find that to be actually a funny addition. Not to critique Catherine Rubino at Above the Law, but how else would you bite someone? Would you bite people with your arm? Of course you're biting them with your teeth. So that's somewhat redundant, but that's not the point. We're not editing a personal statement, so we'll continue. They say, for the record, before settling on the alliterative Big Law Biter as a summer's code name, we did consider Sidley Masticator. I honestly don't understand what that means. Masticator is spelled Masticator. In fact, let's look that up just to expand our vocabs. What is masticator? Masticator means, so it's a type of heavy machinery used to grind or mulch vegetation. Yeah, I don't know. That's not a great analogy. They continue. Scrumptious summer. I guess scrumptious because they're eating. And then a summer is what people often call these associates that just work for the summer. Champion chomper. That one's better. Chomper at least references biting. Mike Tyson of Big Law. That's funny because, Mike Tyson is the boxer who bit off the ear of one of his opponents. And the close runner-up, Associate Lecter. So it's like close to Hannibal Lecter. I think Big Law Biter is the best, not to critique. So I think they went with the right call. Anyway, let's learn more about Big Law Biter. According to insiders at the firm, pretty much from the start of the summer, the Big Law Biter started chomping away at other employees at Sidley Austin, not in an aggressive we're beefing way, but more of a faux, quirky, manic pixie dream girl crossed with the Donner Party vibe. So apparently this was some girl trying to do it to be cute. I don't know how biting your coworkers is cute. And for those of you that are like, I was considering biting my coworkers, because I know some of you are goofballs. Don't fucking bite your... Do I even need to say this? Is this... I mean, part of me wonders if I do, because some of you make some very questionable decisions. But in case it was not clear, do not bite your coworkers. Do not touch your coworkers. Do not kiss your coworkers. Do not look at your I'm kidding. That's extreme. But the point is, physical contact with coworkers is generally a bad call. Even for those of you that are inclined to be dating your coworkers, presumably if you're working at these big firms, you live in New York City. How many young single people are there in New York City? Do you have to touch your coworkers? Like, not to be harsh, but you all don't shit where you eat. There are so many people out there. And yes, of course, you meet people at work, but you can meet people in other places. Like, go play pickleball or something. Or if you're athletic, go play soccer. I'm kidding. Shout out to all our pickleball athletes. Anyway, continue. So she's a faux, quirky, manic, pixie dream girl. That's a lot of fucking adjectives, but I get it's also for a cute story. This is not like a brief. They continue. But like you're in New York City for the summer, if you want to get your kicks by biting people, there are more consensual ways to do it. Yeah, I would bet that is true. New York City seems pretty freaky. I imagine you could find some people into being bit. They continue. The final chomp count is thought to be in the double digits. So she bit over 10 of her coworkers. That's fucking insane. They continue, which is an awfully long time for the nibbling to continue. Though I've seen pics of the results post to Big Law Biter, and nibble is probably too tame a word. All right, so our author's editorializing here and saying that they've seen these images, and apparently they're actually bit. No one should have marks on their person after an interaction with a coworker. Yeah, no shit. Only emotional and psychological scars. That's funny, which is true. It's unclear why so many people let this go before reporting the big law biter, but the rumor is she's otherwise personable, and there was some reluctance to elevate the matter. So they're saying she was well liked, other than the fact that she's biting her fucking coworkers. They continue. It's just wild that this happened in big law. A single bite is enough to get a toddler written up in an incident report from daycare. And if the biting goes on 10 plus times, that'll get you kicked out of daycare. And big law too, as it happens. They continue. Not since the aughts, which for those of you that don't know, the aughts means the 2000s, so like 2010s. I don't know why they're called the aughts. Maybe that's a reference for, in fact, let's look it up. Another vocab word, aughts, which is spelled AUGHTS. It means the digit 0. So that's another vocab word that you should never use. My pro tips with vocab is do not use these words, but you should know them. Because when you know them, you can understand what others say. And it is important that you speak simply. I really try to. I occasionally let vocab words slip into my spoken language, but you really should do your best not to. Try to speak at a low level, try to write at a low level, because then everyone will understand you. And further, often when people do speak or write in very complex ways, it's because they don't know what they're saying, and it's a way to appear smarter than they are. Often the smartest people I know speak the simplest. Not to say they don't use vocab words when there's a good meaning for them. There are words that have good meaning. One of my favorite verbs is tilting. I love that verb. It's a lot of you probably don't know, but you've probably heard me say it a few times. It means annoying, but kind of in a different way than the word annoying. Yeah, tilting. Okay, let's look up the definition of tilting. So tilting. I won't go into why this verb is something that I use. Oh man, that's actually not a verb in English language. So I will look it up. It's basically, yeah, I don't know, maybe I use it improperly, but I like the word. It's part of my vocab. I'm going to try to catch on. So if something bothers you, you can say that's tilting. When LSAT will not respond to your emails, that's really tilting. Like, why are they not responding? When people ask for LSAT advice and then ignore it, that is tilting. Just to give you a few like usages of it. Although to be fair, maybe I'm trying to make a word have a definition that it doesn't have. So perhaps don't follow my language, because that is not a real word. I use it. If you use it with me, I'll understand what you're saying. But I guess most of your friends will probably be like, what are you talking about? That's not a word. And then even if you try to like Merriam-Webster them, it will just point out that they are indeed correct, because it is not a word. Anyway, our author concludes, there were strip club visits and expense accounts gone wild, but obviously the classic of the genre is Aqua Girl. Above the law has long referred to her exploits as the bar for summer associate behavior, though the big law biter might just take the crown. For those that were in their preschool biting phase back in 2006, which is probably most of you, Aqua Girl was a Cleary summer associate who drunkenly stripped down to her underwear at an event at Chelsea Piers and jumped into the Hudson River. Ultimately, she had to be rescued in the boat, but still ended the summer with an offer. Yeah, so long story short, don't fucking bite people. And I guess I should amend my claim that going to Cornell or Harvard or Yale is a guarantee. It is not. If you are dumb enough socially and in terms of your career to bite people or do other similar things, then sure, you may not get a job out of these jobs or out of these schools. Another example is I don't know someone, I should clarify. I know of this story of someone who basically had an affair with one of the partner's wives while he was a summer associate, and he did not get an offer. So yeah, I mean, can you like fuck yourself over and shoot yourself in the foot? You can, but assuming you show up to work, do your work, keep your head down, are polite to others, these schools are a guarantee, the rest of the schools are not. Now, that's not to say you shouldn't go to the other schools, but I do think it's a real consideration, because for most of you, this is a career investment. And I do think there's real validity in going to the schools where it's a guarantee. Like, can you get good jobs out of like kind of lower ranked regional schools? Absolutely. I often reference UCI in California. They actually have really good placement. I reference Tulane. Recently, I actually discovered that my undergrad alma mater, the University of Colorado, actually has better placement than I would have perceived. But that's also like roughly a quarter. It's not like everyone gets these jobs. It's that some people get these jobs. So anyway, there's a few options. There are, once again, 3 types of law schools. One, there are law schools where it's a basic guarantee. The very top are the Yales, the Stanfords, the Harvards. Then there's kind of the second tier of like the Michigans, the UCLA, the Georgetowns, where, you know, assuming you do well, you're going to get the jobs. Is it as easy to get a federal clerkship? Like, no. But presuming you're a good student, you're still going to have lots of doors open to you. And further, the career office is really good at the bat for you. Then there's kind of the middle tier, which is most schools, honestly, where like we talked about, 10 to 30% of the class will get those good jobs. You can approximate what percentage of each class this is at each school by Googling ABA employment report for each of those schools. You can add up the number of graduates who go to big firms. I tend to count 250 plus. And I also tend to count federal clerkships. It's not a perfect number, but that gives you a pretty good estimation of how competitive it is. Because at the University of Colorado, that'll give you about 26%. It's probably more like 30% that get good jobs. But the point is, it's within rounding error. So it'll give you an idea. You definitely can't get those jobs at the University of Colorado being an average student when you're in the 50th percentile. You do not get the jobs. Anyway, then there's also the bottom tier schools where no one gets the jobs. If you look up Cal Western, booty cheeks, ain't nobody getting the high pay jobs. I should be careful. When I say ain't nobody, I mean around here. Like, yes, 2 out of 200 get those jobs, but like functionally, that's nobody. Because can you count on being valedictorian? Like every year, Cal Western will indeed have a valedictorian. Can you expect to be that person? I'd wager no. I'd also wager that if you're the type of person that goes to Cal Western, I would not be betting on your academic ability, because why didn't you go to a better school? Which is where this really gets me frustrated, is people don't take the LSAT seriously. And because they don't put the effort in on this test where you very much so control the outcome, they put themselves in very harsh positions where they do not control the outcomes. Law school is hard. It is not something you've done before. You don't know if you will succeed. Even if you've been a 4.0 in undergrad, it is a different game and it is hard. Law school undergrads are not law school. Undergrad GPAs are much easier than graduate school GPAs, not graduate school, law school GPAs. Graduate school GPAs are super easy. If you have a master's degree, they are known for great inflation. Law school is not. So if you're going in, like I've always gotten 4.0, I just got a 150 on the LSAT, but I'm fine though, because I always have a 4.0. I'm honestly worried about those people. Because like while you were good at like kind of BS poli-sci assignments, that's not what law school is. Law school is a twisted hazing ritual where most of the class gets pretty average grades. And if that's you, and you go to a school where you need the top grades, you're not going to be in a good spot because you may not have them. And if that's a risk that you're willing to run, knock yourself out. But I would. And then further, let's say you want to be a DA, you want to go to like some average university, then the reason the LSAT matters is because it's how they give out scholarship money. I went through the whole spiel on why law schools give so much scholarship money. And I will also caveat this with this upcoming cycle in 2026, due to the administration's change, or not administration, Congress's change of how grad plus loans are done, the scholarship game may change. But the way it's been for like the past 20 years is that the scholarship money flows to the high LSATs and the high GPAs. So even if you do not want to go to these top schools, your LSAT still matters because it determines when you go to a regional school if you go for free or if you go for full price. Madeline, friend of the pod, and she'll be coming back a lot, I believe, is going to a relatively regional university, and she's going for free because she has a 170 some LSAT because she kicks ass. And had she not had that, she would likely be paying to go there. So even if you know that you're not going to go to big law, even if you know that you're not going to go to like Harvard, your LSAT still matters because it determines your future. Another 10 LSAT points will likely save you $100,000, and that is not hyperbole. In fact, I think that is a low estimation. So does studying for the LSAT for another 3 months kind of suck? Arguably, yes. I do, like, I'm not here to say it's not a headache that you have to go through. What I am here to say, it's a headache that not going through is the most immature baby shit, because this controls your future. It controls your future salary. It controls your future debt. So to not put in your maximum effort is fucking wild. So I can't believe some of you do that. And I just know a lot of you don't. And for what it's worth, if you don't want to, it's your life. I just do not understand the calculus behind that. Because why do you not want to put in a little bit of effort to save hundreds of thousands of dollars? That is wild to me. And like, once again, it is your call to make. If you do not want to study for the LSAT, fucking knock yourself out. I just don't understand why any of you would ever do that. And I think a lot of it is because people don't understand. You all don't have that excuse anymore. I've just told you the game. So if you say you don't understand the game now, it's just you making a lazy decision, which I wouldn't do. I mean, once again, though, if that's what you want to do, though, knock yourself out. I just think it is so beyond stupid. It is so beyond immature. And I like, if you're someone who's like, I'm gonna get to 160 and I'm gonna quit, I think you're stupid. I think you're immature. I don't think you take your financial future seriously. I don't think you care about your children's financial future. I don't think you care about your partner. I don't think you want to own a home. And those things, like, if those aren't important to you, that is okay. But if you care about those things, which I presume most of you do, not taking the LSAT seriously is such baby shit. It is unbelievable. Okay, well, that was fun. Hopefully I didn't make anyone cry. If you did, you can send hate mail to ben@HeyFutureLawyer.com. Always open, always fun. So yeah, that's point 1. And that went longer than I expected. Okay, so let's try to get through the other 4 points. Maybe that's all we'll do today, because I'm going to be filming another episode tomorrow. Where were we? I was on the wrong. Okay, cool. Next thing, the LSAT is taught badly. Oh, fuck. Okay, this is another one that's going to take forever to do. So yeah, the LSAT is taught badly, as to be fair as most education. Education, unfortunately, has not been very result-oriented. It's very focused on kind of how things feel, the process, which, don't get me wrong, focusing on the process is great, but often education is optimized towards what feels good as opposed to what works. And I find that to be incredibly misplaced, because when I talk to you and say, when you want to get a good LSAT score, what is more important to you? Do you want to feel good while you study for the LSAT, or do you want to get a high LSAT score? I would assume most of you, if you really step back and think about it, would say, well, I don't actually care if I feel good. I want to get a high score, because fundamentally that is what will determine financial future. My mental state and whether or not I feel like a happy little chipper gopher, like Alvin the Chipmunk, and whether you have that level of positivity, that does not determine the law schools you go to. How you feel while you study does not determine the law schools you go to. What determines the law schools you go to is, do you get the questions right? And the way you get the questions right is largely through practice. The LSAT is a very deep test on a very narrow skill. It is testing, are you a good reader and are you a decent thinker? And that is all it is testing. It does test conditional logic, but conditional logic is so fucking simple. The fact that you guys don't understand it blows my mind. Well, the actual answer is you do understand it. When I talk to you all, I have never talked through conditional logic with someone who is not legitimately mentally handicapped that cannot understand necessary sufficient. The issue is that it is complicated by the words that the LSAT uses. And because it is, for some reason, you all prefer to say that you're bad at conditional logic as opposed to understanding that you're bad at reading. So people very much so will convince themselves they don't know how to do necessary sufficient when it's like literally all of you know how to do necessary sufficient. I was actually talking to my dad about this today. He's not an LSAT person, but he understands it. And then he used necessary sufficient in a reference to something else we were talking about because it's that simple of a concept. And the example I gave him was that water is necessary for life. We found water on Pluto. Therefore, there is life on Pluto. Do any of you catch the logic or the flaw in my logic? And the answer should be like, yes, Ben, I'm not stupid. I understand that water is not the only ingredient required to have life. We might need a proper temperature. We might need oxygen. I'm not a biologist, even though I have a biology degree. That's a fun fact about me for those of you that don't know. Not that I actually know anything about biology. I have an undergrad degree, which is like basically, I don't know. Some people really hold their undergrad degrees like they're expert and shit. I know a little bit about biology, but the idea that I'm an expert, it's like I took 4 years of like various classes. It's not that fucking crazy. I'll occasionally see someone holding up like their poli-sci degree on TikTok, claiming that therefore they understand the world. It's like, I have a poli-sci degree. If you ask me to give you any facts about Kyrgyzstan, I will tell you to fuck off. You ask me what the Senate Judiciary Committee does. In fact, one of you, I believe a podcast listener, was talking about the Senate Judiciary Committee, and I told you that I actually didn't know what that was because I genuinely don't. That doesn't mean it's not important, but it does mean that the idea that someone has a degree does not guarantee that they have expertise in every area of that field. But too often, and I think this actually coincides with stupid people, not to be harsh, but I think stupid people like to flout their degrees. That sounds so bad when I say that, as opposed to like their accomplishments or what they've done. It's like, I have 2 degrees. And well, it's really 1 degree, but I double majored. But it's not that deep. It's like I went to school. I showed up for 4 years. I turned in my homework assignments. It's not that big of a deal. I am much prouder of the things I've done on my own in terms of like having a podcast that's gone to 200 some episodes, building a website with software. I think that's way cooler. I don't know, not to be harsh. And there's nothing wrong with getting degrees. And there are some that are incredibly impressive. I mean, the movie Oppenheimer got me so psyched about science. Like the fact that like this dude actually discovered how physics works. Like I did not like physics. That movie is electric. It's like, holy shit, like we can actually kind of conquer the universe and determine how matter interacts. And it's so cool. There's a reading comp passage I just did. I believe it's from, man, what passage is it from? I want to say it's 119. No, it's not 119. 120. No, is it 125? Maybe 152. Sorry. The point is, it's a passage on the multiverse, and it is so cool. It was like I didn't understand what the multiverse was until I read this LSAT reading comp passage, and I now understand the multiverse theory, and it's like genuinely fascinating. It's basically the idea that big bangs happen out in space, and I'm not going to do this justice. So you should go learn about the multiverse on your own, or even better, go read the LSAT reading comp on the multiverse. Because okay, let me look it up just so I can tell you. Multiverse LSAT reading comp. That is on test. Fuck, which one is this? Oh yeah, prep test 152, section 3, passage 4. It is really cool. It is like I was genuinely interested because I never understood the multiverse. It sounded like very dorky, nerdy shit that like I'm just too stupid to understand. And further, this is like an LSAT reading comp tip. Gaslight yourself into the enjoyment. If you can actually trick yourself into finding this interesting, you will do so much better. Because like I genuinely cared about the multiverse, and then the questions were so easy because I actually understood what they said. And then further, that passage particularly, if you go do it, the questions are actually really easy because I think they know that when they go down deep physics rabbit holes, they lose a lot of the pre-law kiddos because pre-law kiddos are not known for their STEM inclination. And as such, if you just understand, the answers were so obvious. Like this is a really easy passage. Okay, anyway, where were we? The LSAT's taught badly. The basic idea is that people focus on what feels good. What feels good is long curriculums where you watch videos and write shit down. That doesn't make you better. What makes you better is getting in the trenches and fighting. For those of you that did sports, it's like if you were learning to shoot a basketball, you don't get good at shooting a basketball by watching someone do it or by learning about the physics of the arc of a basketball. Is it somewhat useful to maybe know whether or not you should be going for a flat shot or a relatively arcing shot? Like, yeah, maybe that's somewhat useful. But what actually makes you better is someone who studies that in a lab for 100 hours going to be better, or someone who goes out to the basketball court and shoots for 100 hours going to be better. And it's obvious. It's the person who goes out and practices. So that's what you want to do on the LSAT. Like, yes, when you get a question wrong, you want to review it, you want to evaluate things, and you want to learn. But you don't need to learn theory. You need to learn how to do these questions in the real world. And the way you do that is through sections or questions. And the great thing is when you do that, the LSAT will tell you what you don't understand. So instead of reading this textbook and learning every little thing about the LSAT, you can shortcut all the things you already understand because you won't miss those questions. You'll get them right. And then when you miss a question, that is a fucking guarantee that you didn't understand something. So now you have something to dive into and you can see what went wrong. Did I not read the passage actively? Did I not understand what they were saying? Both of which are giant problems, but you can identify that in hindsight. Did I not understand what the question was asking me? Which is also not that hard. These questions are written in English. Occasionally people are like, I need to know what the different question types are. To which my retort is always, do you read English? Because when they ask you what must be true based on these facts, that's not a new concept. Do you know what the word must be true means? Because if so, you don't need to know what else that must be true is, because it's just what they're saying. And you guys speak English supposedly. I mean, you guys all graduated college or you're on track to, like, fuck. You guys don't know how to weaken an argument. You don't understand what weakening an argument means. It means make the argument worse. Strengthen an argument, make it better. Do you need a fucking textbook to understand what a strengthener is? I hope not. If you do, I worry about you. I worry that you're not meant for this game because the words you're going to have to deal with in legal practice. Have you guys read cases? Have you looked at what law school looks like? Because it is way fucking harder than the LSAT in terms of, like, if you think which of the following strengthens the argument is difficult to read, try to read an old case written by some old justice and tell me that the vocab is. Anyway, I'm not here to gatekeep law school. What I am here to say is that if you're illiterate, which not knowing what the question does indicate that you are illiterate, because there are two types of literacy. There's like actual literacy. Can you read words? There's also functional literacy, which is like, do you know what they mean? Because a lot of people, and this is what I've learned, is that a lot of people are functionally illiterate that I have to teach LSAT to. It's not that they can't read. It's that when they read, they have no idea what those words are together. So they can read the words, but when you combine the sentences and actually get the ideas from them, that part gets lost. And a lot of LSAT prep is focused on functionally illiterate people. I also have materials for those people because I'm a no child left behind LSAT prep. I do tend to skew towards people that are illiterate because honestly, I make functionally illiterate people feel pretty bad. I don't mean to be harsh because, like, I don't view it as a personal character condemnation or a failure if you're bad at reading. I do think it's important that you recognize what you're bad at, because if you're functionally illiterate, you don't get anywhere by pretending you are literate. You just fuck yourself over because you'll convince yourself that you need the skill of conditions or of, I don't understand what a reversal negation is, or I need to diagram. And you don't. What you need to do is you need to understand how to read. Can diagramming be useful for some people? Like, sure, of course it can. For some people, visualizing must be true questions is very helpful. For some people, doing that on parallels is very helpful. On most people, though, it is totally unnecessary, and it is a byproduct of forcing people to slow down. Because when you force someone to diagram, it forces them to actually understand what they're reading, which, to be fair, is not necessary because you could understand what you're reading in a different way. But yes, turning it into symbols is one way to do it. Another way to do that is in your brain. And sure, there are questions where there's a lot of things to keep track of, but there's not that many. On most questions, there's only a couple things to keep track of, so you don't need a diagram. Brings us to another point. A lot of people teach diagramming like it's the end all be all. Can you remember 2 to 3 concepts? If so, you don't need a diagram. If it's helpful, sure, diagram on maybe 3 to 4 questions a section. Anything more than that indicates that you're doing it as a crutch, because there just aren't that many hard questions. Most of the LSAT is easy. Most of it makes sense. You all get in your own way by not understanding. Because when you don't understand, when you don't get the point, it is so hard. But if you just understand the point, like for example, I think it was, fuck, which one is it? So I just did an LR question. Is it 110 section 214? I think it is. It's an LR question. There's only one, it's a strengthener, I believe, and only one of them even addresses the conclusion. The others are just, it's like if I told you zebras are cute, and then half the ones are like animals that are not zebras are cute. I'm like, I don't give a fuck about the giraffes. I care about the zebras. Or it'll be talking about like the okapi, which is a giraffe zebra hybrid, is really tall. I'm like, first off, I don't give a fuck about the okapi. Second, I don't give a crap about if they're tall. I care about, are they cute? And the answers are so beyond bad, but you guys don't see it because you rush and you don't understand. When you don't understand, they actually look tempting to you because you don't know what you're looking for, but you all suck at reading and you need to actually learn how to read. And for what's worth, it is reading at a high level. Is the LSAT arguably the hardest reading test in the world? I would argue it is. I have not seen a harder reading test. But that's what lawyers do. Lawyers are professional readers. They're professional. We own words. When I read a contract as a lawyer, I'm not a lawyer, but in your future, if you miss something, if you don't understand, your client's going to fucking fire you because your job is to understand. Your job is to tell your client what the contract means. You are the stupid translator. You're taking the very complex words and translating it to your stupid client. And I'm not saying they're stupid. I'm saying they are not the expert of reading because you are the expert of reading. And that is why they're going to pay you so much money, because you are going to be the expert. So when people say the LSAT doesn't matter, I don't understand how. I don't understand how you could argue this doesn't matter. People, maybe part of it is because they think it's a game about maximizing how many questions you can get right in a finite window of time. That is not what the LSAT is. The LSAT is a test of comprehension. And yes, people will teach it as a gimmick because they're not good at it. But when you do the LSAT right, it's not about gimmicking. It's about, I am the master and I answer questions right. I'm not rushing. I'm not doing this to get an arbitrary number of questions right in a given time. I am so good at this underlying skill of reading and thinking and reacting that I get them all right without rushing because I am the master of these documents. Okay, cool. So yeah, I don't know if I fully went into the LSAT as taught badly. I guess I'll rapid fire a few things. Like the passive learning is a big problem, books, video courses, etc. We have a whole video course at HeyFutureLawyer.com, but that's a prelude for your studying to kind of lay the groundwork for like what you're going to do, give you a schedule, give you the logistics of how to study. What should your schedule look like? That sort of thing. So it's still very useful, but that's not the study. That is the appetizer. We are the Caesar salad of LSAT prep. Well, not we have full courses and whatnot. Like we do give you chances to do all the like meat of the prep. We're also the steak, but our free course is the Caesar salad to warm you up so that you do your prep well. Okay, well, I have two other points. I'm going to rapid fire them just because I don't have a ton of time here. So anyways, lawyer salaries. This is the second one. There are two groups of lawyer salaries. We kind of talked about this earlier. You can go to nalp.org. Lawyer salaries are bimodal. First year lawyers make either roughly $245 a year. That is with bonus. So $225 plus a $20K bonus. And this will go up with inflation. By the time you all graduate, it'll be higher. Those are the big firms. They pay that. Who else pays that? Basically no one. Just the big firms. If you want to work in big law, and they work you to the bone, but they will also pay you and compensate you very well. The perks are very good. It is cushy, assuming you work a lot. So if you love working and you love money, great position. If you hate working and you love money, it's a bad position. There are easier ways to make money if you just want to work to make money. If you love to work and you love just getting a fucking stack of paperwork dropped off at your desk or emails that you have to respond to, if you love group projects and being yelled at because you're the bitch of the group project, then you're going to love being a first year associate because you're going to get yelled at by your partners. But if you are emotionally tough and you can take that and not bite your coworkers, then yeah, big law is a great position and you will work your way up. You stick with it, you make partner, you're going to make $1 million a year one day. So it is a great job if you like it. If you don't like it, which some of you won't, and given how a lot of you don't do your hour of LSAT homework today, that's a fucking problem when they expect you to work 12 to 14 hours a day. So I'm not saying that you shouldn't do it. What I will say is you should be very honest about, is this actually something that you're cut out for? Because some of you are. I've talked to some of you are fantastic. I mean, you know who you are. Some of you are not cut out for this. I see how often some of you study. I talk to you all, and some of you just do not belong in this group. And that's okay. I don't belong. Well, actually, I could have done it. I could have worked. I worked long hours like that. But like, fuck, it's the week of my wedding, and I'm sitting upstairs in my parents' like you have the ping pong table. I'm sitting up in the upstairs of my parents' house recording podcast episodes. I'm recording 3 in a row just so that I have them to upload in days. But I'm working this week. I have my wedding on Saturday. I'm doing LSAT class up until Wednesday, and I will probably respond to emails on Thursday, assuming that my fiance doesn't kill me, because that's that. And for what's worth, it's probably worse if you're a lawyer. Like, I'm not saying you can't clock out, but if you're someone who likes to clock out at 5 p.m., if you're someone who likes to turn off your email when you're on vacation, this is not the field for you. You are expected to respond. You do not get to turn your email off for 2 weeks while you're in Europe. Because if you get an email from the partner and you don't respond for 2 weeks, you're coming back to not having a job. And further, that tracks. It's not like the other firms are going to hire you because they're going to be like, oh, why'd you leave Sidley Austin? And if your partner or the people that they talk to say, oh, so-and-so didn't respond to our emails, they bit a coworker, it's a small world. This is not a giant world. I'm not saying they all know each other, because I'm not here to be the expert of big law. What I am here to say is, if you are super into work-life balance, this ain't the fucking field for you, because it's not a field of work-life balance. And for what's worth, that's okay, because you can live whatever life you want. There are lots of careers with work-life balance, and there are lower-paid legal careers with work-life balance. However, if you are going for the money, it is not a career of work-life balance. It is a career of being a legal monster. I actually resonate with that. I love working. Working is fun. I really like what I do. This is enjoyable. I mean, you can probably tell just from listening to this. Like, I really care about these things. I have fun with it. And I can't imagine spending my life on a beach. I've actually considered what I'll do if I like make enough money to the point of retirement. If I'm like 40, like, will I retire? The answer is fuck no. I'll find something new to do, because I'll be so bored. Like, what's the point? So if you believe in retirement, as in, like, not to say that like you won't move on from like one thing to another, but if you dream of sitting in your recliner and going golfing every day, I don't know. I just don't know if that's compatible with the type of personality that really crushes in big law. And none of this is meant to be judgmental. This is meant to be, you need to understand the game you're getting into. Talk to people in big law. Reach out. Like, find a friend of a friend. There are people in this, I'm sure, within a few degrees. Like, we're all connected to Kevin Bacon by 6 degrees, let alone like other people. So anyway, the point is that I am not here to say what you should or should not do. What I am here to say is that lawyer salaries are not all guarantees. There is a class of lawyers that make a lot of money. The rest do not make a lot of money. They are often starting at $60,000 to $70,000 a year. And yes, careers get better over time. But if you go to law school and go into crazy debt, just expecting to get an average lawyer job, that is fucking wild. Because to make $60,000 to $70,000 a year with $300K in debt is fucking ludicrous. And the idea that you all do that is just, it makes me sick to my stomach. It's so impossible to get out of that debt. So yeah. And then further, our final point is that law school tuition is fictional. The listed tuition is not the price anyone pays. It's the listed price, but you can always negotiate. In fact, you don't even have to negotiate. When you apply, they tend to give you a scholarship offer with admission. Only 19% of law students in the US pay the listed price. most people get a discount or a scholarship just straight from the institution, not from some essay competition that you have to enter to get it, but just straight from the institution. They will write you a check. Well, not even a check. They will just discount their tuition. You pay them less. It's like if I charge you $10,000 for LSAT tutoring, but I give you a $2,000 discount, I'm not giving you $2,000. I'm just charging you $8,000. I'm still charging you $8,000. And that's what law schools do. They anchor the price really high so that they can give you a discount and you all feel like you're getting a deal. That doesn't mean you're getting a deal. In fact, at most schools, getting a 10K discount is actually below. You're still paying more than the average student. So often people get really excited. They're like, not only am I going to law school, I'm getting a scholarship. I got a like 10 grand off to go to like my local law school, but that's often not the deal people think it is. So I will expand on that at a later date. I'm going to wrap this one up just due to the finite nature of I'm getting married and, I have other work to get off to before I bounce out for the roughly 10 days or so of me being somewhat out of reach. I mean, I'm just going to check my email. I'm still going to check my phone. Don't tell my fiance. If any of you tell her I'm pissed off because I'm not supposed to. But also that's who I am, because I'm the type of person that could be in big law. Not that I chose to play a different game. But if that sounds crazy to you, if you're like, why is Ben doing that? You're not cut out for it. You're not cut out for big law if that sounds ludicrous to you, because that's not ludicrous. That's what these people do. And it's okay to not want that, but we live in reality, and reality is about trade-offs. If you want these really high salaries, if you want to be part of this legal elite, there is a trade-off. And the trade-off is that you are on call and that you are connected and you are wired in and you don't get to check out for 2 weeks. I know a lot of you are very work-life balancey. That's not compatible. That is compatible with life. I'm not saying you have to be a workaholic sicko, but if you want to be in big law, you do. So just consider that. Once again, never prescriptive. You can do whatever you want, but should you want to do the big kick-ass jobs, consider that. Talk to some people. They can give you more of a vision to it than I can, because I'm someone who is tangentially related, but I feel that I am on very good authority saying that this is not a field for people that hate working. Alrighty, and with that, I will see you all tomorrow for me, because I'm recording another episode tomorrow. It'll be next week for you all. I think I'm going to schedule it for Sunday. So I will be married as of you hearing the next episode, which is crazy. That's fucking wild. So anyway, shout out to that. Shout out to me. Hopefully the wedding went well by the time you're hearing. I mean, as you're hearing this, I won't be married, so you can still email me like, Ben, don't do it. You're so handsome and beautiful. You should go be, I don't know. I'm kidding. I have jokes with my friends that I can't say on the podcast because they're offensive. Thailand. One of you will get that. I think just one of you that listens will get that. Thailand. Well, we'll say that. Anyway, so the word of the week is Thailand. That's a country in Southeast Asia. It's a fun one. My uncle actually lives there. He actually can't, total tangent, he actually can't come up to the wedding because they got Myanmar, which is, it was called Burma, it's now called Myanmar. It got added to the do not travel list by the Donald administration. And he was going to come to the wedding, but he's trying to bring his wife over who we met there. This is my uncle, that is. And they're now on the travel ban, so he can't bring her because her country is now banned, which is kind of a bummer. Because now he has to stay there and he can't come to my wedding. So shout out Donald for fucking up my wedding, because now my uncle's not going to be there, which is sad. Also, it's life. I get it. He's trying to basically establish that it's a real relationship. And part of that is that he's constantly leaving Myanmar. Well, he's in Thailand. She's a refugee from Myanmar now living in Thailand. If he's constantly leaving Thailand to come to the States, it doesn't look like as legitimate of a relationship. And as such, the immigration processes don't take you as seriously, because we're taking in immigrants. I believe the idea with I don't know what department does it, but they're trying to authenticate, are these actual relationships, or are you just bringing someone over to bring them over? And please do not send me an email correcting me, because I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. What I do know is he ain't coming to the wedding, which is a huge bummer. So shout out to my uncle. It's a bummer. Hope you're well. I'll see you in the future. I know you don't listen to the podcast, but yeah, for the rest of you, hope you have a lovely weekend. I intend to. It's on Saturday, so if you're thinking about it, just think about me. Hopefully it won't be raining. The forecast says it might rain, which my fiance is not going to be happy about if it rains. Fortunately, our venue has an indoor spot, so worst case scenario, we do that. But as of now, we're in a good spot. Okay, anyways, I'm rambling at this point, so I'll see you. Have a good day, and yeah, deuces. If you enjoyed what we talked about today or learned something new, please leave a review or a rating. It really does help us out and helps us reach more people. If you have a question or anything you want talked about in the world of LSAT or law school admissions, you can always email support@HeyFutureLawyer.com to get it in the podcast agenda. Just put podcast in the subject and we will talk about it on the show. Alrighty, that's all we have for today. So I will see you all next time.